If my research for this video series has taught me anything, there are some dark forces at work. It could be the Illuminati, Freemasons, modern-day Knights Templar, Satanists, Wiccans, Rosicrucians, the Bilderberg Group, the Order of the Oddfellows, the Order of Skull and Bones, the Bohemian Club, and or hundreds of other secret societies, orders, and druid sects. Nevertheless, there is a chokehold on this society by people who want nothing more than to tear it apart and trick you into living a satanic lifestyle. Let's talk more about those evil forces and what they have done to unleash their plan. You've probably heard me use the phrase predictive programming in previous videos. There have been numerous instances of this in movies, books, song lyrics, music videos, and TV shows, most notably The Simpsons, where something happened or something was said that actually came to pass in real life weeks or months or years later. This further proves that what happens in our world is planned out and orchestrated for evil intent, and predictive programming simply conditions us, helps us to become more accepting of it. Here are just a few of countless examples. In Season 11, Episode 17 of The Simpsons, which aired March 19, 2000, Bart Simpson saw a vision 30 years into the future in 2030 where Lisa was the President of the United States and she has to fix the economy after the disastrous presidency of Donald Trump. So it predicted that Donald Trump would be president. It also predicted that a female would be in the White House after him, in this case, Vice President Kamala Harris. And this suit that Lisa is wearing is the exact same color suit that Kamala Harris wore on Inauguration Day in 2021. She also wore a necklace and earrings, as you can see in this picture. In the music video for This Is America by Childish Gambino, uploaded May 5th, 2018, 4 teenagers are seen on their cell phones. They are all wearing masks, 2 years before coronavirus was declared a pandemic and masks became a requirement. And at this point in the video, Childish Gambino says, "This a celly, that's a tool. Celly, cell. People were told to stay at home during the pandemic unless absolutely necessary. That's symbolic of a cell being locked inside of something." But this came out 2 years before. In Pandemic, a song by the rapper Dr. Creep that came out in 2013, there's a line that says, "2020 combined with coronavirus, bodies stacking." There's a board game called Pandemic that came out in 2008. And in a 2019 episode of the TV series Project Runway, there is a model called COVID with a K, which has a mask as part of his outfit. In the movie Knowing, starring Nicolas Cage, which came out in 2009, there is a scene where Nicolas Cage is watching the news and hears of an oil rig which triggered an explosion in the Gulf of Mexico. In April of 2010, there actually was an oil rig explosion in the Gulf of Mexico. In the fictional novel The Wreck of the Titan by Morgan Robertson, which came out in 1898, a giant British ocean liner called Titan sinks in the North Atlantic Ocean after striking an iceberg. Sounds familiar, right? Same exact thing happened to the Titanic 14 years later. And as for 9/11, oh my goodness, it's everywhere. You see it here in Sesame Street, The Simpsons, Spider-Man, Iron Man, an album cover for the rock band Supertramp. Someone made a case for SpongeBob if you look real close. There's Johnny Bravo, coming soon, yikes. I did some research. This episode aired on April 27th, 2001. Die Hard, Superman, Marvel, Deathstroke. Terminator 2, Peep the Maximum Height on the Freeway. The Twin Towers are shown in the opening of the movie Conspiracy Theory from 1997, starring Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts. Here's the Super Mario Bros. Movie from 1993. And this card game, which many believe has predicted various tragedies in the last 30 plus years. It's called Illuminati New World Order, and it came out in 1994. In this game, players take the role of Illuminati societies that fight with various forces to take over the world. So one card in this game is the terrorist nuke card, which looks like 9/11. Same thing here with the Pentagon. Of course, 9/11 crashed into the Pentagon. This game also predicted the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico that we talked about earlier. There is also a card called Charismatic Leader, which many believe predicted the presidency of Donald Trump. You see, they both have blonde hair. His face is also said to resemble the Enough is Enough card. Martial law. This seems to predict the improvements made in security after the January 6th riot. And perhaps this card connects to that in that the rioters were unhappy with the voting results that declared Trump had lost in the 2020 election. You see the Capitol building in the background. There are multiple cards that depict and predict riots, civil unrest, and police brutality. This card is largely believed to predict COVID-19. Remember, this game came out in 1994, but you see here a face mask, gloves, the word quarantine, disinfectant, probably a vaccination needle right here. Gun control. What has been one of President Biden's biggest priorities while in office? Gun control. Political correctness. Used insensitive pronoun. Pronouns and gender fluidity are all the rage today, and you're considered the enemy if you speak out against it. Market manipulation. This probably predicts the stock market crash of 2008 and the overall fact that the market may be rigged. Rewriting history. There have been bills and political action to erase certain parts of history from schools, and I believe lies of various kinds are taught in our schools. World War III. There were rumors of World War III in the beginning of 2020. Gay activists. The Supreme Court ruled gay marriage legal in all 50 states in 2015, and there are increasing strides to make society more accepting and accommodating of homosexuality. And then you've got people like RuPaul, Pete Buttigieg, Leah Thomas, Ellen DeGeneres, and other activists regarded as trailblazers. Savings and loan scam. So many people have been tricked into signing up for fraudulent companies that pledge to help with student loans. There's a Russia card, maybe that predicts the Russia-Ukraine war going on right now. And then there are other cards which are more general but still portray the overall message that these are forces utilized by the Illuminati and Satan. Democrats, Republicans, even third-party libertarians, liberal agenda, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Ronald Reagan, Nancy Reagan, Al Gore, George Bush, Ross Perot, United Nations. They don't look so united, do they? Margaret Thatcher, Prince Charles, Fidel Castro, Supreme Court, congressional wives, pyramid marketing schemes, Las Vegas, KKK, fast food chains, comic books, the recording industry, whoa, starting to get heavy here, video games, professional sports, Hollywood, cable TV. These are all things I've warned about throughout this series. Saturday morning cartoons, they're targeting our kids too. TV preachers, hello? Wolves in sheep's clothing, right? Vatican City, my goodness. And so many others. So anyway, back to the predictions. Clearly something was planned out and carried out. This is way beyond coincidence. So who is behind it all? Who is to blame for tragic events like 9/11, the sinking of the Titanic, the 2 world wars, the Waco massacre, the Oklahoma City bombing, the assassinations of President Lincoln and President Kennedy, and other deaths and events? Research has led me to believe that it all stems from one source. Check out some excerpts from this video featuring Bill Hughes, co-leader of Truth Triumphant Ministries and author of the book The Secret Terrorists, among many others.
What do you think the Vatican's role is in the New World Order?
Steve, I think ultimately they control every aspect of the New World Order, from the political leaders, the financial gurus of our world today, and also the churches of today. I think that's the clear picture that we have. And all the research that I have done, Steve, pinpoints the domination of the Vatican in the world affairs of today. It's very secretive, Steve, in their involvement in all of these things, because they look like they're so good and trying to promote peace and trying to promote harmony throughout the world. But in actuality, they're the ones that are pulling the strings behind the scenes. And again, in the political, religious, and economic realms of this world. Well, by 1540, the Jesuit order was established. It was established for two basic reasons, very simply. It was established, number one, to destroy everything that the Protestant Reformation stood for. And the other thing is that as it would destroy the Protestant Reformation, it would reestablish the authority and power of the Roman Catholic Church. And the principles of the Illuminati are the principles of the Jesuit order. So you have the Jesuit order, you have the Illuminati, then you have Skull and Bones. And so the Jesuit order, through Skull and Bones, has crystallized their plan to train political leaders in this nation. George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr., both members of Skull and Bones, take the Jesuit agenda into the White House. And what is the result of that? What did you have? You have 9/11. So, Steve, we see this complete change from men back in the 19th century who understood the evils of Rome, to whereas today you have George Bush with Skull and Bones giving his life to the Jesuit order. You have Bill Clinton, who was trained at Georgetown University. You have Barack Obama, who it's very, very clear has one Jesuit-trained member on his staff after another. The only one that comes to mind right off is Leon Panetta, who is the head of the CIA, who was trained at Santa Clara University, which is a Jesuit university on the West Coast. And what we have developing in our country right now, Rome again controlling both sides of the pendulum. As a German philosopher by the name of George Friedrich Hegel, when he identified the best way to create change and to get what you want to happen, it's called the Hegelian dialectic. And what you do is you control both sides of a situation, whether it be political parties or ideologies, but you control both sides so that you can create your synthesis. The Jesuits control both sides of this, Steve. And it's their desire to create such chaos, and that's what we see in America today, such chaos, the radical and the ultra-conservative, and there will be a clash. And in the aftermath of that clash, Steve, they will get their synthesis. But that's where we're heading today, rapidly, in this country.
And the Jesuits have a history of assassinating or murdering people who are outspoken, who get in their way.
Steve, that has been going on from the get-go.
I mean, numerous attempts on Queen Elizabeth I.
Oh, it's...
Besides Luther, numerous attempts on Queen Elizabeth.
One assassination attempt after another. Queen Elizabeth, William of the Netherlands, Henry IV of France, King James I of England in 1605. So right there, within that little span of about 50 years, you've got five world leaders of nations with assassination attempts on their lives. Why? Because they were not going along with the Jesuit agenda. And Steve, we have seen that here in the United States of America as well. We have seen presidents, of course, the most well-known would be Abraham Lincoln in 1865, John F. Kennedy in 1963. He was killed because he was not following Rome's agenda for America. William Henry Harrison in 1840. Andrew Jackson was in 1835. And there's so many fine Roman Catholic people. This has nothing to do with them. This is simply about a hierarchical structure that for centuries has been hell-bent on world domination and doing anything and everything necessary to bring about that world domination. If it means the destruction of leaders, if it means creating depressions, if it means destroying people's economies, it makes no difference. It's simply about control and domination. And we're talking about the hierarchical structure of the Catholic Church that a lot of people today believe has changed, that it's now presenting a Christian guise because the priests wear crosses about their necks. But the Catholic Church themselves have declared, we do not change. And given the right atmosphere, the Catholic Church will come forward and will seek to give what they feel will save this planet, Steve. And it will be the ultimate demise of this world.
So it's clear that influential people in our country and in our world are being used to accomplish an agenda. As he said, presidents are pushing the agenda. If you look at some of our most recent presidents and politicians, Joe Biden is a Catholic. Donald Trump went to Fordham University, a Jesuit school. Bill Clinton went to Georgetown University, a Jesuit school. Barack Obama worked closely with Leon Panetta, who went to Santa Clara University, a Jesuit school. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, is Catholic. Clarence Thomas, Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, is Catholic. Gavin Newsom, Governor of California, went to Santa Clara University and is a practicing Catholic. 28.1% of the House of Representatives and 26% of the Senate are Catholic. Revelation 17, 1 and 2, talking about Babylon, says, "One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, 'Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute, who sits on many waters. With her the kings of the earth committed adultery.'" Kings of the earth, that's presidents, politicians, prime ministers, kings and queens, all the influential people committed adultery, and the inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries. If you look at all the leading forces during COVID-19, Joe Biden, Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci, all Catholic. And LeBron James, considered by many to be the greatest player in the NBA right now, he went to a Catholic high school. So it's not a question of when will they take over. Kind of looks like they already have. So many influential positions in our country belong to Catholics and Jesuits. So is it any wonder now that our society is filled with chaos and tragedy? And if you go to modern dictionaries, not Google, actual paper dictionaries, the word Jesuit has either been taken out or given a pleasant connotation. But they're not pleasant. They're not your friends. And again, we're not talking about all Catholics. We're talking about the top of the hierarchical structure. Going back to the Illuminati card game, there are also goal cards. Some of them say the corporate masters, so a goal to take over the world. Hail Eris. Eris is a goddess, so another goal is pushing for pagan worship. Kill for peace. Population reduction. Are those cards going to come true too? Like all those other cards did that we saw earlier? That's scary, man. Speaking of Eris, Let's look at the Jesuit logo. IHS. IHS is an abbreviation of the Greek name for Jesus, Isus. But you know what else IHS is an abbreviation for? Isis, Horus, and Set, or Seb, the Egyptian pagan trinity. And these are the people running the script. Galatians 4, 8 and 9 says, "Formerly, when you did not know God, you were enslaved to those that by nature are not gods. But now that you have come to know God, or rather to be known by God, how can you turn back again to the weak and worthless elementary principles of the world, whose slaves you want to be once more?" Skipping down to verse 17, "Those people are zealous to win you over, but for no good. What they want is to alienate you from us, so that you may have zeal for them." Now more than ever, we need to have a zeal for God, not the things and people that masquerade God. So seek the things that are above.